In this episode, we'll demonstrate WordPress Shortcodes and its equivalent feature in ProcessWire, known as HANA code. A great use for shortcodes is when you need to insert complex or dynamic content inside of an existing field. As you can see, we're on the Shortcode API page, and what I want to do is create a shortcode that will display a list of all the books that exist within our WordPress site. Right now we currently have one book, and as you saw earlier, we created a custom post type for these books. So let's create a shortcode inside of our functions.php file, which will output the information. Let's load functions.php. And if we scroll down here, we can begin typing our shortcode. First thing we need to do is to add the general boilerplate for the shortcodes. And what we want to do is to get the books from the custom post type. So we can use the getPost function, and that expects an array. And one option in that array is the post type. So now I want to see if any books were returned, and if so, output an unordered list of the books, and if not, output no books. Let's create a variable to hold our string, and if we have books, and if we don't have books, then set out equal to no books. Let's program the true condition. So if we have books, then we want to create an unordered list. So let's give it a class. Let's close that unordered list. Now we want to loop through the books that were passed, so let's do a for each. And let's set each line item. So let's open and close the line item. Let's also have a link to the book. And now let's put in the title and the URL. So the title, we can use the getTheTitle function, which I'm not too crazy about. And for the link, we can use the getPermalink, which I'm also not too crazy about. Finally, let's return the out variable, and that should do it. So let's go ahead and insert that into a page. We'll use the hello page for this case, and let's insert it between these two lines. So the shortcode format is just an open bracket followed by the code and a close bracket. Let's update the page, and if we view this page now, we should see a unordered list with one line item. And there you go. Let's double check by deleting a book. Let's refresh again, and we have no books. So the equivalent of shortcodes in ProcessWire is through a module called HANA code, and it's a module by the creator of ProcessWire, Ryan Kramer. To install it, we can simply copy the class name and paste it here to download and install. Give it a couple seconds, as this is a rather complex plugin. So now that it's installed, we can go to the options here, and you can see the opening and closing tags are these double brackets. We can create a new HANA code. And much like we did with the WordPress shortcode, we'll create a code that outputs a list of the books inside the website. So let's call this books, and it's going to run PHP code, so choose PHP. We have an option here that determines if it should replace the tags immediately surrounding the HANA code, so let's leave that as yes. That's a really great option there. We're not going to use attributes for this one, however, feel free to read the documentation on how to utilize that. And now we can begin programming our code. So the first thing that we want to do is to get the books page. So that'll get the books page, and we definitely want to check if that page does in fact exist and if it has children, because the books page has many children which represent the books themselves. So let's write some logic for that. So to determine if that page actually exists, we can just check to see if the ID came back, and we want to see if the children exist. So we can simply do that by counting the children. And if it does, then we'll write some code to output it by looping through it first. And if it doesn't, we'll just output that there are no books. Let's make sure to wrap that in a paragraph tag. So now let's write the true condition. We want to output a unordered list. Let's give it a class. Let's close that list. Now let's output the line items. And let's make sure to actually output the book title and the URL to the book. And that should do it. So let's save our changes. And we can now insert the HANA code into the body section of a page. But before we do that, we need to first make sure that that field, the body field or any field for that matter, can actually process HANA codes. So we should go to the text formatter section for the field and make sure that the HANA code text formatter option is selected. And then we can go to the home page where we want it to display and place that HANA code inside of the body section. And let's save our changes. Now, if you view this page on the front end, you will see that it outputted a list with one item since we only have one book, and it displays very nicely. Let's double check that if we delete a book, the false condition exists. So let me delete this item. Now if I refresh, it should say no books. And there you go.